Morning, everyone, and welcome to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Hope hope your Sunday is starting off well. We are live here at Love 105 FM every Sunday morning for the Minnesota Real Estate Show, hosted by Mike Overson of Luminate Home Loans, Scott Wolmering, and myself, Ryan O'Neill of the Minnesota Real Estate Team Remax Advantage Plus. It's June 4th. Excited in studio. We've got Mr. Adam Hartung with us. And again, we're on Love 105 FM every Sunday morning, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Welcome your questions, comments, thoughts. And we're actually getting ready to go live on air here. You're welcome to join us at any point throughout the show. Questions, comments, thoughts. Hope your June and your weekend's going well. Here we go. Good morning and welcome to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Sunday, June the 4th, 2023, and we are live here at Love 105 FM again every Sunday morning for the Minnesota Real Estate Show, hosted by Mike Overson, Luminate Home Loans, Scott Wolmering, and myself, Ryan O'Neill of the Minnesota Real Estate Team Remax Advantage Plus. Throughout the show, you can join us, 612-294-6949. Again, 612-294-6949 by phone or by text. And again, we're streaming on all of the various social media channels, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you might be. We appreciate you joining us. And again, hope your weekend's going well. We're into June. Scott, good morning. And can you believe June 4th? Hard to believe.
It is, and we just had a little training this last week. We were at the for real estate agents. We're at the halfway point of the year, which most people would think is the end of June, but it actually, the way that we look at it is you kind of start your 2023 year in December, because whatever you sell in December goes into June. So the 6-month point is here. So we'll talk about what the kind of the first half look like and what we think possibly the second half. If this is the first time you've caught the show, we really appreciate you tuning in. Like Ryan said, you can check us out at mnrealestateshow.com. That's our website. And you can join the discussion at any time, 612-294-6949, either by text or calling us and going live on air. If you have any questions, we would love to handle it. The beginning of the show, we always like to go through a couple updates, a mortgage update, and then also what's going on from a real estate perspective. So we can do that.
Yeah, again, 612-294-6949 is how you can join us at any point. It is summer here in Minnesota, and
it's been hot.
I know.
I love the heat.
You do love the heat.
I always get a kick out of this time of year when people are like, "Oh, it's so hot," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, 2 weeks ago it was miserable." It's like just enjoy the heat. Take the layers off.
Hey, I do have to say, before we dive into the real estate numbers, huge congratulations to one of my nieces, Sophie O'Neill, married a wonderful young man, TJ Jones, yesterday in Wisconsin. So it was a little bit south of Madison. Wonderful wedding. It's my oldest brother Dan's youngest daughter. And so just really excited for Sophie. Beautiful wedding. And outdoors. It was outdoors. It was at a vineyard, kind of in the middle of Wisconsin, but just really a wonderful wedding. Sophie is a sweetheart. Yeah, super excited for my brother Dan too. That's his youngest and last one to get married. So well done, Dan.
Yeah, that's exciting. My oldest daughter Jordan actually just got engaged about a week ago. So to her and James, they're going to get married next April, and so we were all excited. We knew it was coming, but it's still kind of excited. I mean, they've been together for a long time, so it's one of those, it's not like they met, fell in love, and a month later they're getting married. So they've been together for a long time.
Right. Yeah. Super cool. Mike Overson is off this weekend. Our partner with Luminate Home Loans from a mortgage standpoint. Just a brief update, interest rate wise. Again, as Mike talked about last week, rates were into the 7s last week. This week, Scott and Adam, they did come back down again. So we look at kind of day by day. This past week, down from 7.14 to 6.95 to 6.88 to 6.85. So about a 1/4% drop compared to last week at this time, which is good. Still higher than what we've expected, guys. And Adam, again, welcoming you into the discussion here. That's probably been the biggest hurdle, obviously, is interest rates.
Right.
Just the jump from 3 to 6.5 or now 7 for the whole world to deal with.
And it affects so many things. And not only did interest rates move significantly in a very short period of time,
A point in a week.
But we talked about before how the change in an absolute terms when you go from a basically close to zero interest rate to back to what historically we would say this is actually really close to long-term averages. So I think the average interest rate on a mortgage in the United States, going back to kind of the modern mortgage, when they kind of became the 30-year fixed, is 6.875 if I'm not mistaken. So we are almost exactly at the long-term average. Now, again, when you start talking about averages, really doesn't matter that much, because the truth is rates have rarely been at the average. They're almost always either higher or lower. But when you go from that almost zero back up to kind of the average in a 9-month period of time, it's a huge change, and it's a shock to a lot of things.
Well, it is, and what's made this hurt so much, which we, at least I've been doing this for 25 years. I've never run into it where we've had such an aggressive appreciation for homes in a short period of time, and then had basically had interest rates go up double in a short period of time. So that I think is what's hurt. I mean, back in 1999, the FHA I think was $132,000. I mean, that's what you were buying. That was the maximum loan on an FHA, roughly. Now I think it's 452 or 552. I can't remember.
We need to double up your blanket there.
Why am I hitting it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like to give you a bad time. Hey, again, you can join us 612-294-6949 at any point by phone or text. Jojo in studio, always helping us out, doing a wonderful job. We've got a caller here. Thanks so much for calling the Minnesota Real Estate Show. How can we best help? Oh, good question.
It's a great question. Can I ask you this? You're the holder of the contract for deed. You're the seller, correct? Bought it on a contract for deed. Is there a current mortgage that you had, or was your home paid off? Okay. So the payments then are being made to you, and so the person that would be in charge of verifying that the payments are done is you. Now, most contract for deeds are set up a little bit different than a normal mortgage. So in this case, you are the bank, and so the new owner is paying you payments on a monthly basis. If they miss payments, you have the right to foreclose on it, just like you would on a normal loan if you were Wells Fargo, for example. But the responsibility of collecting those payments is to you, and if they default on it, then you can take a different action.
No.
Correct. They would make it to you, and then again, typically those terms are. It depends on how you set the contract for deed up, but normally it's a relatively short term. So let's say you did the contract for 5 years. At the end of that 5 years, the new owner would need to do what's called an end loan, which is to basically take it off your lap, and then they would get their own loan.
Kind of like a balloon.
Like a balloon payment, correct.
Well, I think in this case, that's not the case. That's not the case at all, and it might be a situation too. It sounds like there's perhaps a few moving parts. Even if you want, after the show, we'd be happy to dive a little bit deeper with you on this contract for deed situation. We do help a lot of people with it. But we'd be happy to chat a little bit more, maybe in detail after the show, if that works okay for you. Yeah, we'll call you. We actually you can leave your number with JoJo here, and we'll go ahead and reach out. And again, we appreciate you listening to the show here. But again, we do a lot of contract for deeds.
Yeah, we'll help you out.
Hey, thanks for listening. Yeah, thanks for listening. Have a good weekend. Really nice guy. Again, contract for deeds, and it's just a kind of an interesting situation though. Again, where you're making that end loan payment, and again, oftentimes if they're not at a good spot, they're not making those payments. They get the property back.
Man, a contract for deed since 1994. Because I was
I was
my,
thinking
my
the same
immediate
thing.
my immediate thought is, in this market, why would you do a contract for deed? And we can discuss this after. I know we're up against the break here.
Yeah, it's an interesting deal. Maybe just right before the break, Scott, we'll also hit just a couple of the numbers for folks, so they do have that. Again, looking at new listings here, so new homes for sale in the Twin Cities, Scott, down 21% year over year, only 1,630 new properties for sale. Pending sales decreased almost 29%. So 29% less accepted purchase agreements. And then the inventory is down 7.3%, 6,629. Again, when you look at the historical numbers down, this is the last 3 months, okay, here in the Twin Cities, guys. Pending sales are down about 27%. So the market, first 6 months, no inventory, higher interest rates, lots of buyers, especially in the 450 and under price range. Lots of multiple offers in those ranges, and a lot of, I'd say, frustration in the industry with the difference between COVID. COVID was sunshine and rainbows from a real estate standpoint. Now it's harder times.
Well, it is, and just so people understand what this can do to people. So I had a listing. I won't. It's still active, so I won't give the exact number, but it listed at $900,000. And 2 weeks ago, we had 495 saved searches, meaning agents had set up 495 searches for people that are in that price range. When rates went from 6 to 7.25 in 2 weeks, that those saved searches went from 493 down to 270. So what that tells me is all these people that qualified up to the X amount, as soon as rates went up another 1.25, because that's about an $800 payment a month on that price range, they disappeared from qualifying or being interested in that payment. And so you can take that across all price points. If you qualified for 500 and rates a year ago were at 2.6 and then they're at 7, well, now you qualify for 250. Well, that takes you out pretty much of the market. And so it's a really, really unusual time, because 6,600 homes on the market is crazy. And there are still tons of buyers. We have buyers that have been living with their parents for 4 months, still trying to buy a home. So it's very, very aggressive out there. There's just nothing to buy.
And again, prices are actually going up.
Yep, that's
still.
right.
That's the thing, is there's no magic bubble. There's no collapse of the real estate market. There is just not a lot of inventory out there. And so there's a lot of kind of grassroots ninja tactics agents are using, from door knocking, sending letters to homeowners, off market deals, all these types of things that are happening. I know we're up against our first break. Again, thanks on social media. So many folks joining us. My friend Deb Lazinski, awesome agent with our team. She is in Cabo. She said, greetings from Cabo. We've got Anagun saying, I'd like to be a real estate agent. Pete talking about contract for deeds. Thanks for joining us all on social media. Again, we're up against our first break here at the Minnesota Real Estate Show, 612-294-6949. We'll be back after the break.
I mean, that's exactly what I do when I'm in Cabo. I get up.
I know,
I get up.
she's a
I get up
hard
early.
worker.
I get up
She's such a
early.
hard worker.
Get some breakfast, and I tune into the Minnesota Real Estate Show.
That's nice. Thank you, Deb. Thank you for watching. Adam, again, that interest rate shock.
Yeah.
You were kind of predicting it all the years of this show, though.
Again, I didn't know when it was going to happen, but what I said was interest rates are going to stay way low longer than anybody thinks. And when they start to rise, they're going to rise much faster than anybody thinks. I mean, those were the only things. And as it turned out, I was right about that. But again, you know, even looking at it and saying that we were right, it was still a hard adjustment. You know, even for a firm like ours that saw all this coming, it was a difficult thing to navigate, and it still continues to be. So.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It is it is one of the, and I've seen every market. It is one of the weirdest markets that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because like you said, under 500 grand, it's crazy.
Lots of activity.
Lots of activity.
I continue to see more, and I brought this up on the show before, that again, leading to low inventory. I mean, right, what needs to happen is we need more inventory. But one of the problems that's going to continue to make inventory less available is that this change in mortgage rates makes it so much more difficult. I have a lot of clients who were planning in their retirement years to transition to a new home. And in some cases, it might have been a smaller home or the same size, you know, price range, but just a rambler instead of a, you know, 2-story or whatever. And because of the change in interest rates, you can't make a lateral move.
No.
You can't go from a $450,000 house to a new $450,000 house, because from a cash flow perspective, it'll kill you.
Yeah.
And so now that's one more house that's not available as inventory. You know, it's not on the market because they're not going to sell it because they just can't anymore.
Well, like I've said, basically the fun real estate has been removed. Meaning, hey, let's get a bigger house. Let's get a newer house. Let's build new construction. All that's disappeared because if you're sitting on a 2.6 rate,
right,
you're not going to do it. First of all, the house that you can buy now isn't going to be in the same even relation to what you're currently living in, and so it's relocations, it's divorces, it's circumstantial reasons why you maybe have to liquidate your house. But as far as just the normal kind of, you know, meat and potatoes part of real estate, that's been put on hold.
Well, and I do think, it's part of it is the initial shock that we talk about. I do think over time, as we look forth to the second half, that it is going to get better because people are going to be more used to it. And eventually with life,
yes,
you're going to need to adjust and do different things. And so at some point, there will be enough of a push to make the change.
I agree.
Yeah, it's just that kind of initial phase. And so again, looking at those numbers, again, with pending sales down almost 27%, 3 months, a 3-month period. Inventory, it's interesting. The inventory still down. Last year we were a little over 7,000 homes. Right now we're at 60, a little over 6,600 homes. So just very interesting. I know, again, we're getting ready to go back live on air. 612-294-6949. Adam Hartung, Midwest Money Management. We're going to be diving deep with you. Got a lot to talk about in your world. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, thanks folks for joining us. Again, Love 105 FM. Hope your weekend's going well. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Hope your weekend's going well. We're into June 4th, 2023. Hard to believe the summer is here. It is warm out. It is hot out in Minnesota. And again, our show, if you haven't caught it before, Sunday mornings, 10 to 11. We are a real estate team here in Minnesota. We help people buy real estate, sell real estate, invest in real estate. We've got a top agent on the Minnesota real estate team wherever you are listening to this show, really all over the state of Minnesota and Western Wisconsin. Again, we always like to do a market update in our first segment. And as Scott mentioned, we're at the halfway point of the year. First half of the year has been kind of a shock, down 30% in sales. activity. So that affects, again, think of all the people in the industries that affects: title, mortgage, real estate, home inspectors, everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah. And so, moving forward, it's like, okay, what's going to happen? Are we going to stay in this funk? What do you think, Scott?
I don't. Beginning of the year, I predicted that the late part of spring and summer into fall, I thought was going to be very, very aggressive, because I thought that would be enough time where the rates have increased, people have gotten used to it, they've readjusted their searches, they've readjusted their price ranges that they're going to buy in, and I think a little bit of human nature is, rates are at 2.6, they go to 7. Well, you go, hey, let's just watch this for a little bit. Maybe they're going to drop back down to 4. And now we realize, or people realize, that's not going to happen. And so, it starts to settle in, like you said at the break, Ryan, that people will get used to it, and I think we'll start to see a little bit better end of the year.
One caller I talked to this week, who's an existing homeowner, and it's funny how these markets change. What they're doing is they're actually renting their property. So they've got a low interest rate on it. And they said, instead of selling it, what we are going to do is we're going to actually rent it. We're going to rent it and then move to that other home. And so that is an interesting take, an interesting angle. And again, part of our team, our background, we do a lot in the investment property world. That's a little bit of my background, how I got into the business. So that's an interesting angle, that again, people deciding to rent and then move to the other property.
That's right. Or for the very, very small percentage of people out there that bought in the last 3 years at 2.5%, that bought with an FHA loan.
Yeah.
FHAs are assumable.
Yeah.
And so what that means is you could have somebody, as long as they have the cash to get down to where your mortgage number is, you can sell your house, give them the 2.5 or 2.8 or 2.7% rate, and they can come in and assume that on an FHA. And so if you do happen to have an FHA loan, and you're either on the market or you're going to be on the market, make sure that your agent splashes that everywhere, because there are people out there with cash that will come in, bridge the gap of what you owe, what your sale price is going to be down to your mortgage.
Sure.
And then they're able to assume your 2.5% or 2.8% rate.
That's interesting, Scott. I hadn't thought,
Yep.
Are all FHA loans assumable, or just
all FHAs are? FHAs before 1986 are actually non-qualifying assumable. Not that there's any of those around much anymore, but yeah, they're assumable. You just have to qualify.
I would like to invite on again if you go to mnrealestateshow.com, you can see a list of all of our preferred partners that our team has worked with over the last 20 years. One of them is Mr. Adam Hartung, and Adam is a certified financial planner professional and an accredited investment fiduciary. He's the president and founder of Midwest Money Management, located at 17316 Kenyon Avenue in Lakeville, Minnesota. Securities offered through JW Cole Financial Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through JW Cole Advisors Inc., Midwest Money Management, and JW Cole Financial and JW Cole Advisors are unaffiliated entities. Good morning there, young man.
Hey, always fun to be here. That is interesting what you were talking about. Both of those things. One, the assumable loans on the FHA. I'm not in the market to buy a house right now, but is that our real estate agents, I would think, are doing a good job of advertising that. I would think that's got to give appeal to your property.
It would give appeal. The problem is, because when rates were so low, and there were 25, 30 offers on every house, there weren't a lot of FHA sales because they couldn't compete in multiple offers. So like I said, if you're lucky enough to be one of those people that actually got an FHA offer accepted in the last 3 years, what I believe it does is, I believe you get 10 to 15% more for your home than you would. So if your home is really worth $400, would somebody pay $475 to have a 2.5% rate instead of a 7.25% rate? Sure, they would. And so just make sure you're understanding that the only caveat in that is that whoever's buying it has to have the cash to be able to bridge it all the way down to what you currently have on your loan. And some cases FHA buyers don't have 150 grand or 200 grand or whatever.
Yeah, the only other thing too is, again, as an option, as a client I talked to this week about looking to rent a property. I know that may sound scary to a lot of people, but again, when you look at so much of the wealth, and we've got the right guy here talking about that, that people have built over time, it's through real estate. It's
Right.
through owning real estate. And so it's natural. Again, a lot of people say, I don't want to be a landlord. Okay, you don't have to be. You could hire Scott Fisick with Rental Management Guys, one of our partners.
Yep.
I don't want to goof around with that. There's a lot of different ways that you can benefit from being a landlord. And Adam, again, this is another option, like this client was saying.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sell my place. I'm going to rent it, and yeah, I'm going to pay a higher rate.
Honestly, it's a really good idea, and it's one that again, these are the things where the market changes, and sometimes it takes a while to think through. Hey, what's the new strategy? But I actually think this is a good idea that more people should consider, because you really are giving up a lot to give up that lower interest rate to move to another house. I mean, from a financial perspective, you're giving up an advantage that you may never see again in your lifetime. But if you can continue to capitalize on that, you really do want to move, you want to be in the new house, you're in a cash flow position, you can do it. You can still capitalize on that low rate into the future, as you said, by renting out the property.
Yeah, I mean, just my daughter Jordan, who's 27 years old, has 3 Airbnbs, and one of them is in Austin, Texas, and the mortgage payment on it is just over $1,500, and they get about $275 a day for that property, and it's rented all the time. And so Airbnbs are another thing. They get a little bit more difficult depending on where you are in the United States. She's in Arizona, and it's a little easier to do them there. But Airbnbs are a great way to go. But yeah, if it's your primary residence, you got a 2.5% rate on it. I mean, you're going to cash flow a ton.
Yeah, we've actually helped a lot of people from the Airbnb standpoint too. The big thing to know is the city. What does the city allow? What are the city restrictions as far as the length of tenancy that you can have? But know that that's a possibility too. Obviously, that's a little more active management. There's companies that will help with that as well.
Yeah.
But Adam, a lot going on in the finance. What's new in your space, man? A lot going on. This debt ceiling deal, all sorts of stuff happening.
We have an advisor meeting every Monday, and so this last Monday, I asked our team, "Hey, I'm going to be on the radio on Sunday. What do you think I should talk about?" And everybody said the debt ceiling, which at the time was still being debated. This is before it actually passed, and I thought to myself, they just want me to go on air and talk about the debt ceiling because I can already feel my blood pressure rise, and they'd like to see me, freak out and hyperventilate.
Oh no!
So we can talk about the debt ceiling. If you guys don't know, if the listeners have not heard, the debt ceiling has gone away now until January of 2025, or is it 2024? 2024, no, 25. Sorry. Not till this coming January, but a year from this January, we now have no debt ceiling in the United States again, because we didn't just raise the debt ceiling, we suspended it until January 1st of 2025. So I'm sure we'll all sleep better at night knowing that the government can spend as much as they want with no limits at all.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because they've been so prudent up to this point.
The thing so first of all, let's talk about the stock market. So the stock market loved it. So there was a big rally in the market on Thursday and Friday as it became pretty obvious that we were going to get this deal. So it's been good for stocks in the short term. I will say there is a Wall Street adage that says, buy the rumor, sell the news. And, kind of what that means is that it is typical when there's an event like this that's being speculated on, that during the rumor phase, there's speculation and stocks tend to rally on speculation. Often after the event actually happens and it becomes reality, they realize that, well, maybe we rallied a little too much, and then there's a kind of a pullback, and some of those gains get taken away. So it'll be interesting to see next week whether or not the rally continues or whether we see a pullback. But the thing that just drives me nuts about this whole discussion about the debt ceiling debate is that they premise it in such a false way, and everybody goes along with the narrative. I mean, what did we hear? That if we don't raise the debt ceiling, we're going to default on the debt. And the second thing they talk about is if we don't raise the debt ceiling, we're not going to be able to make Social Security payments. And both of those are such a false choice. And we accept this as if it's reality. Well, this
I
this
don't accept it.
this would be like, I mean, if you're a household, so let's say you're a household and you make pretty good money, and your credit is good, but you got a little bit of a spending problem and you spend a little bit more every month than you make, and so over time your credit cards build up and eventually you've maxed them out. So you call the credit card company and say, hey, my credit is good, my income is good, let's increase the debt limit, and they say, sure, we'll do that. And you do this every year for years and years and years. And eventually you call them and you say, hey, it's me again. We need to raise that limit again. And they say no. So what are you going to do? Is the first thing you're going to cut out of your budget your mortgage payment? You're going to stop making the mortgage payment? And are you going to stop buying food for your family? No, there's probably something else in your budget that you're going to cut out first on all of your spending. Well, when they say if we don't raise the debt ceiling, we're going to stop making payments on the debt and stop sending out Social Security payments, well, that's ridiculous. You're telling me with all the things that we fund in the government, there's nothing else that you can cut out from the budget? I mean, it's a false argument. And then it stops us from having the real discussion, which is, let's go back to that household. What's the real discussion that needs to happen here? Yeah. It is that we have a spending problem and that maybe we need to reel that in a little bit. So
we're going to continue the discussion with our friend Mr. Adam Hartung, again a certified financial planner, wonderful guy. He's been a longtime partner at the Minnesota Real Estate Show, has helped a lot of people in all aspects of investing, including real estate investing, myself included. 612-294-6949. We are live here at Love 105 FM. We've had a few phone calls. Appreciate the phone calls. If you ever can't get through, try back again. Sometimes we got multiple lines ringing. Again, 612-294-6949. We'll be back after the break. So, Adam, how does that affect people? You know, how does this debt ceiling affect people watching and listening?
Well, in the short term, it probably is better for them. I mean, the reality is there would have been a reaction. There would have been negative consequences in the short term if we had not raised the debt ceiling. They would have had to cut something else out. There probably would have been an increase in interest rates. There probably would have been a sell-off in the stock market. Increases the likelihood that we go into recession. And so in the short term, raising the debt ceiling does kind of, just like that family that gets their credit card limit raised, it makes things better in the short term because now we don't have to make any changes. We don't have to cut anything back. We don't have to do anything. We can just go on status quo. But the reality is, eventually, this just makes the problem worse. I mean, that's everything that they do.
Well, that's what I don't understand. Through 2007 through 2011, we obviously saw tons and tons of people that went bankrupt. The driving factor of why they went bankrupt was housing market that had crashed. So they lost 50% of the value on their home, and the inability to borrow money.
Right.
And that's all the United States has been doing. Well, we haven't been borrowing; we've just been printing it. But at some point, either you have no ability to print money, or you have no ability to borrow money. And if those two things aren't coming in, then whether you're a country or whether you're a household, you're going to go under.
That is exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the ultimate consequence of this if we continue to do this forever. Now, how long can we get away with it? How long can we continue to do it? I don't know. Yeah. I mean, is it decades yet? Maybe it is. Maybe we can continue to do this. But if you think we can do it forever, I think you're crazy. And the longer we go without fixing it, the more we get ourselves into a position where eventually there is no fixing it anymore. Eventually, bankruptcy is the only solution.
Well, that's what's so funny, because I always hear, the United States is the richest country in the world, and I always think back to when Donald Trump made the comment to his daughter when there was a homeless guy on the street. He said, "Who do you think has more money, this homeless guy or me?" And the homeless guy did, because Trump was millions and billions of dollars in debt at that point. I don't remember what year that was. But that's the same thing with the United States. There's no money.
Right.
So we're not the richest country. We're the most leveraged company, and we still have the ability to leverage more. But we don't have any money at all.
How does, Adam, with the real estate market where we're at, what else do we have? Because I know we could go down this road.
No. I guess what are you asking me?
Just in general, what else do you have for folks?
Oh, Joe, just to talk about. I got you. Something other than the government
Going
down
down,
that.
yeah.
You know what? I think it is a great time. I think there is a higher than normal likelihood that we are going to go into a recession at some point in the next 6 to 9 months. So getting your house in order now, making sure that you are doing all the right things to be prepared for that. While it's always a good idea, I think now is probably a really good time for people to just kind of look inward and say, hey, you know, do we have our budget out of control? If we had to cut something, what would we cut? If you know, one of the primary breadwinners in the household loses a job, are we prepared to deal with that? You know, or are there some things we should be doing today to prepare for, you know, maybe rainy days down the road? Even if those days never come, you know, that's just going to put you in a better place. And that is one of the things that if somebody wants help with, you know, that we can help with at our firm.
So do you think the recession is coming?
I do. I do think that it is. I mean, it is not a foregone conclusion. It is possible. It is possible. Well, it certainly is coming at some point. And the question is,
I mean, that's just
when is it official?
Yeah, when's the official recession? Like a year ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
so you do think it's going to be more pronounced, or?
I do. I do. And my essential base case on this is you can't print $4 trillion and not have there be consequences. And we did. And it's you know, that was a couple of years ago now, but I do think that's going to come back to bite us.
You're full of just sunshine and rainbows.
I know.
Well, it is what it is. Not everything needs to be sunshine and rainbows.
I know. I'm just giving you a bad time. Hey, we're getting ready to go live again on Love 105 FM. Appreciate you joining us on social media. Hope your weekend's going well. It's June 4th, 2023. Welcome back. Hey, welcome back to the Minnesota Real Estate Show, 612-294-6949. Don't hesitate to call us or text us. We're live here at Love 105 FM every Sunday morning for the Minnesota Real Estate Show, hosted by Mike Overson, Luminate Home Loans, and Scott Wilmering, myself, Ryan O'Neill. A lot going on here today. We've been talking with Adam Hartung, Midwest Money Management. We've been talking about the debt ceiling, and you have not hyperventilated. So that's good, Adam. That's good. You've not been hyperventilating. And during the break, you were talking a little bit just about the printing of so much money and the strong belief that you have that maybe a recession will be a little more pronounced. How does that affect our listeners? And what can we do?
You know, I said this off air, but I do think while it's always a good time to be prepared for a rainy day, you know, when we can look ahead and say, hey, look at, honestly, for everything that we've gone through financially, households are in pretty good shape right now. But if things get worse, are they really prepared? You know, do they have an emergency fund? Have they looked at their budget and said, hey, if we had to cut something back, what would it be? I mean, I do think now is a good time to just be prepared and start having some of those conversations. And whether you do it on your own as a household around the kitchen table, or whether you want to use the help of a firm like ours, where, you know, our team can kind of help walk through that process with you. I just think it's a good idea right now. You asked me for potential sunshine and rainbows here during the break, that I'm always negative. So one of the things that I talked a little bit about the last time we were on, and then we got waylaid because of the mortgage credit program that the government laid out, is that interest rates, one good thing about interest rates being higher is that interest rates on savings are a real thing again. And so a lot of the banks have not yet caught up with this, but some have. So there are probably radio listeners out there right now that have some savings in a bank right now that is still earning next to nothing. It might be earning, 0.5%. And I'm telling you right now, if that's you, you need to invest some time, because if you search, you can get FDIC insured accounts paying north of 3.75%. And you can get non-FDIC insured money market accounts, government-backed government money market accounts in the 4.5+% yield on interest in terms of just your cash savings. And so that is a positive development, but a lot of people are still not benefiting from it because you might have to open up a new account someplace to see the benefits of that.
I never thought about that, but that would make sense.
You're full of sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah, 4%. That's
we got a recession coming. We got no inventory.
But you can get 4.5% on your savings.
That's
so
true.
There you go.
But
So
you don't
just
have
focus on the positive.
Yeah, most people don't have any savings anymore. So, but if you happen to be one of those people with savings, hey, off this note for 1 second, I am doing an open house at one of my listings today.
Very nice.
27 Geneva Boulevard in Burnsville, $699,900 today from 12 to 2. So I'll be leaving the show going right there. Would love to see you. We will have Marlena's Famous Cookies. That's the seller. So come by and see me 12 to 2, 27 Geneva, $699,900, Executive Rambler, acre wooded lot, pond at the back. It's a great property. So again, come see me.
12 to 2
12
in
to 2 in Burnsville.
Burnsville.
Yeah, 12 to 2 in Burnsville.
Burnsville. I have one other one. Mr. Joe Mack, awesome agent with the Minnesota Real Estate Team, Remax Advantage Plus, has one in Carver, 786 Riesgraf Road in Carver. And it is listed at $525,000. Adam, it's a 5-bed, 4-bath home. It has a main floor office, dining, living, sitting room, 5 generous-sized bedrooms, Joe says, including 4 on the upper level with a large owner's suite with a laundry chute, new furnace, along with a tankless water heater. The home has been very nicely updated throughout with an updated kitchen, paint, bath, flooring. Enjoy the fully fenced-in yard with a maintenance-free deck this summer, too. 525, 786 Riesgraf. That sounds like a nice one, Adam.
It does. It does sound nice.
I love laundry chutes.
That is kind of fun.
You don't see them anymore.
I know you don't.
My first property, the duplex that I bought, had a laundry chute, and as a 21-year-old, I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
That is.
Oh, it totally is. When I was a kid, we would drop like our sandwich, like our buddies would be downstairs.
Oh,
And
Scott.
be like, your sandwich is done, and we drop it down the laundry chute. They'd catch it.
It's interesting. I had a friend growing up too that had if you can believe this, was a very nice home, but they had this was brand new. You'd walk onto the main floor and they had like a little elevator for the groceries to bring it so you could walk in. You put it in here and then it goes up. That's interesting.
Like a dumbwaiter?
Yeah,
like a dumbwaiter.
exactly.
Yeah, those are cool. Yeah, that's you don't see laundry chutes much anymore.
Yep, that is 786 Riesgraf Road. Adam, again, as we kind of head to the home stretch here. So again, you've talked about some of the realities people are facing. Any other thoughts for our listeners today?
Just that you don't have to do it alone. I would encourage you that if whether it's your investments themselves and what that might mean if the market goes south that you're worried about, or whether it's your budget or just your retirement plan, that's what our firm does. We bring somebody in, we learn as much as we possibly can about what their situation is, what they're concerned about, what their goals are, and then just try and help them through that process, and hold their hand every step of the way, or at least to the extent that they want that. So, if somebody's interested, come sit down with our team. We do a compatibility consultation is what we refer to it as. There's no cost to that. It usually runs 45 minutes to about an hour and 15 minutes. And that's just that initial process of talking about what is it that you're looking for, and is there something that we can do to help and add value.
Nice work as always. You've got a wonderful team. Adam Hartung has just a great group of folks who work with them at Midwest Money Management. Super helpful, informative, great customer service. And regardless of whether you have no money to invest or you have a ton of money to invest, Adam and his team should be your next phone call. You help in so many capacities, Adam. I just think from a money standpoint, a lot of stuff, we don't learn that in school growing up. You need someone like you on your team to help you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Scott?
No, I agree. I was just thinking. My daughter Savannah is now a client with Adam. My other daughter is going to reach out to him as well. But yeah, it is one of those things that I've done speaking to panels through the years, and one of the questions that's asked all the time is if you could go back in time, what would you change in your business? And it would be to have hired an Adam Hartung the first month I was in real estate.
Right.
That would be the number one thing, to have somebody that understands money. Because, when you're 27 years old and making a decent income, you're not very prudent, and I definitely was not. And so, yeah, if I could rewind time, I would definitely hire Adam right out of the gate.
Yeah, again, early in the show, we had a caller, Adam and Scott, about contract for deeds and seeing more potential, perhaps in our market for contract for deeds sellers who are exploring selling that way. Most people need their monies from the sale, so they can't do a contract for deed. But there are more of them that are popping up out there, where again the seller is essentially acting as the bank, and it's an interesting thought, guys. Anything to add on that?
Well, again, just like you talked about potentially renting the house to continue to take advantage of a low interest rate, contract for deed would be another way to potentially still have some type of an arbitrage on a low interest mortgage that you have on the property. And instead of renting it, you could finance the sale and have the contract for deed money coming in.
That's right. And a good contract for deed is a pretty substantial down payment. The reason that sellers want to do contract for deeds, and I've got clients that's all they do is contract for deeds, and it can get a little bit ruthless, because from a seller standpoint, you almost hope that the person does default, because you're getting a large down payment. They have to make their payments on time. At the end of it, they have to be able to do an end loan. If they don't, the person loses their down payment and loses their payment. Now, I'm not advocating that would be the reason that you would do it, but I am saying you want to make sure you get a real estate agent involved in it, because depending on what side of this transaction you're on, there's a lot to be able to protect either you as a seller or you as a buyer.
612-294-6949. We're up against our final break here at the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Every Sunday morning, we're here 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Welcome your questions, comments, thoughts throughout the week. If you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, invest in real estate, please don't ever hesitate to reach out to our team. We've got a top agent wherever you might be listening to or watching the show right now. We'll be back after the break. Yes, Adam, you gave us a good mixture of some recession, but some good things for your savings.
Yes, there you go.
Well, yeah, I mean, you think about a contract, you're right. I mean, if rates right now are at 7.25, and you have no mortgage on your house, and you're able to have somebody come in, give you $100,000 down payment, and you can charge them, even if you gave them a break and you charge them 6.5%.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah, you charge them 6.5%. They get a little bit of a break. You're making 6.5% on your money. That's a pretty good gig.
Yeah, it is. It's good. Good stuff. Again, 612-294-6949. Did have a question come in. If we're seeing as many transactions with no home inspection contingency, I would say yes. Again, the 450 and under price point, because there's so many multiple offers, we're still seeing a lot of people come in with no home inspection and a variety of things to win in that case. But, Scott, as we're seeing maybe more upper bracket stuff, if there's not as much traction in some areas and price ranges.
Yeah, no, there's not. I mean, and that's what I mean about it being a weird market, because it's limited inventory in every market.
Yeah.
But depending on the area you're at in the Twin Cities, like south of the river, you start creeping up, 650, 700, 800,000, and there's only a handful of pendings, and there are homes that are sitting 53 days, 100 days, 134 days. That's in that 700 price range. And so it's unusual. And then you take a look at the under 500 or under 450, and that's still so aggressive. If it's good and priced correctly, it's like any other market. Overpricing your home in this market is death. I mean, it is like, if the one mistake you want to avoid, if you can, is by in no means overprice your home. Because if you're worth 500 and you go on at 550 and you sit, you've got such an uphill battle, because that home should be gone. Everyone that is looking knows it should be gone, and it's not, and that's the battle you're going to fight.
Adam, you had a question or thought on inspection?
Well,
home inspection?
I was going to give one piece of advice to listeners that I just gave to Cam on our team. So, by the way, we have 3 25-year-olds on the team. 2 of them just became first-time home. Well, technically, one of them's not a first time because they owned a rental before that. But both of them at 25 just bought their first primary home and residence. And one had an inspection done. The other one waived the inspection. And what I told her is, I said, hey, I would still call Steve Stalock, the inspector that I love and I know as a preferred partner on your show. I would have him do an inspection anyway, because it will be well worth your money to find out the things about your house that you're going to need to know, that you're going to need to plan for if there are some repairs down the road. And even Steve's such a great guy. I mean, he'll just tell you how your stuff works. I mean, when you're 25, you don't know how all the different things, like the venting outside your house that needs to be cleaned once a year at least and all that stuff. So I would tell people, I would still get an inspection after buying a house, even if you waive the inspection, as part of the deal.
For sure. Yeah. It is one of those, when you talk about waiving home inspections, and again, in 25 years, except for the last 2 years, I'd never waived a home inspection. Last 2 years, I think I've only done a handful because you couldn't do it to get a house. But in all those years and all the homes sold, I can think on one hand of costs that exceeded $5,000. So, I mean, it's very, very unusual.
Minimal.
Yeah, so it's a risk, but it's a calculated risk.
Yeah,
sure.
If it's got a newer roof on it, it's got a newer furnace. Those are kind of the big ticket items. There's not cracks in the foundation wall. It's pretty mitigated.
Here we go. We're going back live on air, the final segment of the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Thanks for joining us. Hey, welcome back to the final segment of the Minnesota Real Estate Show here on Love 105 FM. Every Sunday morning, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Got a couple text messages from my good friend, Mr. Rodolfo Trujillo. Awesome agent on the Minnesota real estate team. Wonderful guy. Texted in, just said, say hello to Scott and Adam
Hello.
for me. Mr. Rodolfo does a wonderful job. Top agent, top broker in our market, helping a lot of people. And that's what's interesting, again, about this market. Even though numbers are way down, we're seeing some folks, guys, still have very good years. Obviously, the general trend is less transactions, but there's a number of people still having a good year. Scott.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's like any other market. You're going to have your downside, and depending. We were talking this last week. Some of the more seasoned agents like myself, this is going to be one of my lowest years in a long time. Mostly because a little bit older clientele, they're not moving, they're staying where they're at, they've refinanced or they've bought in the last few years. And so there's still a lot of new business out there. Ryan does a great job with generating leads for the team. And so, if you're working that newer business, you can still have a decent year, but it is, there's no doubt that a lot of people are sitting tight.
Well, another thing in whether it's real estate or any industry, when you have a difficult time period like this, I think the natural result of that is a couple of things. One, the weak kind of get out of the industry, so you're going to see people leave. I'm sure they already have, but you'll see that. But you also see the good real estate agents get better. Even if this year they don't have their best year ever because circumstances make it difficult, you find new ways to do more for your clients. You find ways to be a better agent, and the people that stay will be stronger and better and serve their clients even better in the future because of going through hard times, I think. Well,
and it's a difficult conversation because obviously we do this as a living, so we sell houses to keep the lights on and feed our family and whatever else. But you also represent your client, whether you're actually currently selling their house or you're not. And in some cases, they're better to wait. Yep. And that was a conversation over the last couple of years that, I would just say, look, if I was you, depending on the price range you're in and the situation, I would probably refinance and wait for things to settle back.
Yeah, and I think that, again, for agents, maybe newer agents to the industry or people who are thinking, wow, the world is ending. This market is unbelievably challenging. We've, from doing the show, guys, for almost 20 years, we've seen a lot of really difficult markets. Yeah. This one is not by any means the worst.
No.
I can think of times where it was all short sales and you're getting accepted purchase agreements on homes And then you've got to wait 6 months to hope some third party entity approves your short sale. And you hope you get paid and you hope your client gets a house. And so it's really just it's a function of the business. And I think for people that have been in this a longer time, you realize that the world's not ending, the sky's not falling. You keep doing your best, like Adam says. You just keep moving forward, focus on the positive, and if you're consistent with your work ethic, good things happen. It's just it's a change, which is hard. It's hard because it's not COVID, and everyone and their mother is not buying a house, immediately.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've talked about this all the time. Would you rather have 2008, where you're carrying 100 listings, and you get one showing every 3 months on one of the listings, and you're having to babysit your sellers that of course are freaking out because no one's buying their house.
No one's looking at my property.
Would you rather have that market where you have to sell a short sale 12 different times to 12 different buyers because the bank drags their feet and each buyer walks away?
Yeah.
Or would you rather be in this market where you're writing 15 offers to get one through because there's 25 offers on everything? I mean, every market has its challenges.
Yeah.
But I would prefer, I would take this market over that market. It was very, very tough in 2008, 2009.
Yeah, it is. And that's part of the industry. And to your point, Adam, about being in real estate, I think too, a lot of the really good agents are going to kind of sharpen their swords and get better.
Yeah.
And that's what anything. And I mean, obviously in life, challenges give you an opportunity to rise to the challenge and improve and focus on customer service. Like you said, Scott, it's not about selling a house quickly. Hey, you need to buy this, you need to sell this. When you give good advice over time, you build relationships with people. Yeah. That's what they want.
Yeah. Well, and they know when they finally ask you the question and you say, yes, I would do this, that you're not trying to sell them anything. You're telling them to do that because they should do it.
Right.
I think back to when, we were in 2007 and 2008 and we were screaming from the hills, if you have liquid money, buy everything you can possibly buy. And people are like, oh, it's a horrible market. Yeah, it's a horrible market if you're selling.
Yeah.
But if you have liquid cash, there was more transfer of wealth between 2006 to 2010 than I think we'll ever see again. I mean, it was just, I think of, 15 townhomes I sold one of my investors for 45 to 55,000. They're all worth 290 now.
Yeah.
That kind of thing where if you had the ability to purchase, you buy everything you could possibly purchase.
Adam, we head to the home stretch here. You presented a lot of stuff for us. Last thoughts for folks here as they get into the summer here and they look at finances, they look at the big picture, interest rates, et cetera.
Well, again, I suggested that if you're looking for help kind of preparing for everything, to reach out to us. If you do want to sit down with a member of our team, you can find us on mnrealestateshow.com or at midwestmoneymanagement.com. You can also call our office. The phone number is 651-204-3000. Again, that's 651-204-3000. Again, there's no cost to that. There's certainly no obligation on either side as far as that goes, but we'd be happy to sit down, talk about your situation, find out if there's anything we can do to help you.
Very cool. Great job as always. Thank you. Scott, last thoughts?
Again, it is a good market. It's great if you're selling. And if you are relocating out of Minnesota in the next 3 to 5 years, this is the second best selling market we've ever had. So you should look at cashing out, looking at some different options. Maybe you rent until you move to Florida or whatever the options are. So there's some good things. We're always here to help you. If you have questions like that, let us know. And then again, come see me today at 27 Geneva Boulevard in Burnsville. Open house from 12 to 2. I will be there.
Yeah, again, really appreciate people tuning in each week to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. If you have questions throughout the week, you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, invest in real estate, we do our free seminars each month in Bloomington, first-time homebuyer seminars, investment property seminars as well, where we talk about the market. Single-family rentals, multifamily, apartment buildings, you name it, we talk about it at those investment property seminars. It's been a fun show. Nice job, guys. Great work.
Yeah, it was. We really appreciate everybody tuning in.
Yeah, again, we'll be back next Sunday, again, June 11th for the Minnesota Real Estate Show. If you have a certain topic you'd like us to hit, a discussion point, please don't ever hesitate to let us know.
We'll get through 10% of it.
Yeah, we'll get the 10% of it. Yeah, absolutely. But it's summer. Summer's here. And again, hope you and your families are having a good start to the summer. We'll be back next weekend. This has been the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Thanks for joining us on social media. Adam, good job, buddy. Scott, nice work.
You too, sir.
We'll be back next weekend. Take care, everybody. Stay cool in the hot with the hot weather, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.